This is going to be a short video because instead of dealing with a model of aircraft as I normally do, here we are going to look at a single example. The Royal Air Force's Mustang Mark I AM106. Yes, that is a Mustang with two 40mm cannon under its wings. How cool is that? It is well remembered that the legendary P-51 Mustang originated out of a, dare I say, boast made by Dutch Kindleberger, who was the president of North American aviation. In 1940, he was asked by the British if North American could build the Curtiss P-40 under license for the air forces of the Commonwealth, to which Kindleberger famously replied that North American could design a far superior fighter in the time it took to get the P-40 into production. From such things, legends are born, and the foundation was laid for the P-51 Mustang. But the aircraft didn't leap into its role as a formidable fighter straight off the bat. I'll have to get around to doing a dedicated video one day on the development of the Mustang, but the long and the short of it is that it started off in a very different role. When the first Mustangs, the Mark Is, were delivered to the British starting in October 1941, the Royal Air Force assessors soon determined that they had a very formidable aircraft on their hands. These initial models were armed with 450 caliber and 430 caliber machine guns and had blazingly good performance at low level. In common with the early P-40s, the American Allison engines supplied to the British on the Mustangs suffered power drop-off above 15,000 feet. So the RAF determined that the best use for their new aircraft was as a low-level reconnaissance platform and ground pounder, roles that the first Mustangs actually excelled in. And at about the same time, the RAF had also begun conducting combat operations in North Africa with a new aircraft weapon expressly intended to rip open tanks, the Vickers S 40mm gun. This pod-mounted weapon was fitted under the wings of Hawker Hurricanes to form the 2D variant, and initial combat experience showed that it could be rather effective. Indeed, No. 6 Squadron, the first to be equipped with the Hurricane 2D, rejoiced under the nickname of the Flying Can Openers. But though the Hurricane 2Ds were certainly dramatic, they were also rather vulnerable. The weight of the gun pods, additional armour, and the air filter for North African operations significantly degraded the aircraft's performance, meaning that the 2Ds could only operate safely when not facing German fighters or significant air defences. So it was entirely logical that the British have a look at maybe fitting their new high-speed ground attacker with the S-gun. AM106 was one of several of these first Mustangs that was allocated for stores testing and trialled zero-length rocket launchers, drop tanks, and ultimately two 40mm gun pods. And to be honest, I haven't been able to find anything on the test reports on the aircraft, so if anyone knows anything, let us all know in the comments, please. Because all that remains, as far as I've been able to find, are some intriguing photographs of AM106, which obviously conducted flying and firing trials with the 40mm Vickers, but his weapon was never adopted by the RAF's Mustang squadrons. I suspect that the British testers concluded that the Mustang Mark I was formidable enough as a ground attack aircraft with rockets and bombs, without the encumbrance of the bulky gun pods. Plus, though the Vickers S would see use in small numbers throughout the war, I further suspect that the RAF really didn't see much point in making heavy future commitments to it, as other ground attack weapons offered far greater flexibility for development. But despite the Mustang never getting the S-gun, I have to admit, I do think it's one very cool looking aircraft.